Hello, Indiana Fever fans. With the preseason starting this weekend and the regular season right around the corner, welcome into our broadcaster preview. I'm television play-by-play voice Pat Boylan. We've got the broadcasters here with us, some people to meet, some to reintroduce you to. Now, unfortunately, we aren't joined by my partner, Debbie Antonelli, but she'll be with us throughout the season and joining us here. And a lot of our conversations that we hope to have throughout the year, but it's a welcome back to our sideline reporter back in year 2. Kelsie Kasper, we're thrilled to have you back, Kelsie.
I'm so excited to be back. I mean, we really couldn't have asked for a better season to introduce myself to professional basketball and being able to work with you and Debbie and just learn about this game, learn about this team. It was really exciting. So I'm eager to get working for season 2.
The woman to my left, a lot of Fever fans know well, and our longtime Fever fans know well. She started with us in 2020, and I actually want to introduce a new medium for us because I'm thrilled that we are bringing back, for the first time since 2015, Indiana Fever Radio. And Bria, you've called a lot of games on TV with us. You're multidimensional, but you are officially joining us again as the color analyst on Fever Radio. Welcome back. It's so good to see you.
Thank you, and I'm so excited to be here. Just like Kelsie mentioned, this is probably the biggest event, not just from women's basketball, for Indiana as well. We're having so much success, and so coming back and just being a part of the team and really just kind of digging in. I mean, what better way to come back? And the radio show that is back, this is definitely a new role, but it's something that I'm going to go ahead and face head on. So new challenges, new role, new cast, new play-by-play. So I'm ready for it. What's up, Fever?
We're looking forward to getting your perspective. If you're a fan of the Mad Ants, now the Boom, John Nolan is not new to Pacer Sports and Entertainment, but you are new to this role, and we are so grateful to have you joining us here, John Nolan, the new voice, radio voice of the WNBA's Indiana Fever. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's an absolute honor to be joining the organization here, and it would be a dream come true position no matter what to be a play-by-play broadcaster in the W, but for it to be with this Fever team, this fresh start entering this era is just amazing.
Yeah.
And grateful to have an awesome teammate.
Right. I was like, don't leave me out. Now you get to work with me. And
Over the top good.
All right, well, our producer, Daniel, here's what he's done for us. He's written down some questions on these cue cards, and we're going to go around. We don't know what's on these cue cards, but we're going to go around. We're going to reveal the question. Whoever pulls the card is going to answer first, and then we're going to get some input here as we preview what should be just a thrilling and exciting 2025 Indiana Fever season. So let's get going here.
Let's do it.
And our first question, handwriting, impeccable.
Superb.
What was your first reaction when you saw how this roster came together during this offseason? This is a great way to get us started here. I will say, if I remember the chronology correctly, Natasha Howard was the first move in the offseason. And it took me immediately back to Dallas late in the regular season because the Fever were there. And I said to Debbie Antonelli, color analyst, who will be joining us again on the broadcast this year, I said to her, I said, you know who would be perfect for the Indiana Fever? And before I could answer, she said, Natasha Howard. We basically said it at the same time. And her skill set, she's a former member of the Fever, but bringing in an all-star, her versatility, her rim running, I thought she fit perfectly. So the offseason got off to this great start. And then Sophie Cunningham is traded for, a big presence from a shooting perspective. But it was the move, in my opinion, when it was announced that DeWanna Bonner was coming to Indiana that really changed the dynamic and the narrative for this team, because it was clear the Fever had taken a few steps forward. Yep. But at least for me, when DeWanna Bonner came here and the signing of Bonner was announced, to me, that's when this franchise jettisoned into the upper echelon, into the contender conversation. And we'll start with you here, Kelsie. As you're watching these moves come together, Sydney Colson, obviously a big one as well. What's going through your mind?
I mean, whoa. Every tweet you would see, every press release you would see, it was just like, wow. All of these players are coming to play here. And you could see that the front office that came in, they meant business and they wanted to get that veteran experience, that championship experience. I mean, I don't even know how many championships there are on this roster, WNBA, All-Stars, everything like that. So the expectation certainly changed from last year, a team that just wanted to make the playoffs to now an expectation of wanting to win a championship. So obviously these additions are huge, but also the first step, is if you remember, was getting Kelsie Mitchell back. I think that was a huge thing too. It was a priority of the front office. I think it really set the tone to have a veteran who has played in this organization kind of set the tone for the rest of the individuals to follow.
And that's a great point, because you can't take Kelsie at all for granted. She has been so important to this franchise, and getting her back, you called that correctly, was the important first domino in all of this. Bria, as you're watching all of this unfold, what's going through your mind?
So just to piggyback off of that, I want to talk about the spiciness of how spicy this team is, right? We got Sophie. We know she's spicy, okay? We got Dewana, who's super competitive. Like, that brings a whole nother level of fight into the locker room that maybe this younger Fever team might not have seen in the past. Of course, we have Kelsie Mitchell, who has been there and been through the trenches as far as like how difficult the seasons were when she first got out there. Now we're talking about literally going deep into the tournament. Not can we make the tournament, not can we win 10 games, but we're talking about what contender can we be. And I think that just starts with the spiciness in the locker room and really like having that fight to see if we can, make some moves, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, no doubt. And one of the things we heard during Media Day earlier this week was that this team does have championship aspirations and expectation that success means competing for a championship this year. And I think just to sum it all up, a word that comes to mind is transformative. And it even started back in the fall with changeover in the front office and the coaching staff. And so it just feels like from top to bottom, this franchise right now has every piece that you could need, not to mention the incredible fan support too, that's really going to spur everything to another level.
That's a good point, because while the question was about the roster, bringing Kelly Krauskopf back, Amber Cox, obviously massive having that in the front office, and then Stephanie White and her staff. Everybody in Indiana knows just how valuable she is. All right, let's flip some cards. Kelsie, you are up next.
Like John mentioned, we had Media Day on Wednesday. So our next question is, what is one thing that stood out to you about this group during Media Day? And kind of going off of Bria's point earlier, it was the personalities of everyone. I mean, the energy, the excitement level. And I think we also saw a great response from the players on Twitter afterwards. I mean, everyone was so excited and so grateful to have this opportunity. I mean, everything that this Fever organization put on was incredible during Media Day. So just seeing everyone's energy, everyone's excitement, they were ready to go, the vibes were high. That was my main takeaway from Media Day.
Yeah, for me, I would just say it's the non-shying away from high expectations. As we talked about at the beginning of this conversation here, the Fever have jettisoned themselves, I think in just about everybody's opinion, into the contention category. Of course, New York's a great team, won a championship. Vegas will be in the mix, of course, Minnesota. All those teams are capable, but I think you now throw the Fever into that mix. But what do the players think about that? And we sat down, had those conversations for interviews that'll be on our broadcast, so you'll hear and see some of those answers. But for me, it was almost every single player took that question and said it's to win a championship. It's to be holding the hardware at the end of the season. And I think it was just a bluntness and a bravery of saying, this is our goal here from the beginning. It's to win a championship this year, and they're not shying away from that moment.
Right. And then what's the team slogan again? Now you know.
Yeah.
Like, that puts a standard, I think, into the mix. And again, you got the girls in the locker room who, if you don't look at your teammates and say, I will run through a wall for you, then you need to get out of the locker room, right? And I feel like that is the expectation here. Just seeing what the media has done, bringing the kids in and just kind of like getting everyone involved, it has that family feel, but also like, we got your back too, as a fan. And then big credit to the media team. I think they've done a fantastic job just all across the board, getting the names out there and hyping up what they need to hype up and just kind of having that own part into it. So top to bottom, it has been fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a fresh start in a lot of ways, like we've talked about, but it does seem like the chemistry is really ahead of schedule. And it's a credit to a lot of the players and staff who spent the off season together and really getting things going even before training camp officially started. So I think, it's just part of the reason why we're so hyped to see some game action here this weekend.
Exactly.
We're hyped for you to flip a card. Let's go.
Let's go. Keep it rolling. It's going to be an up-tempo offense, right? We got to be quick with the cards. So which off-season addition do you think is going to make the biggest impact right away? And This is a tough one because it feels like you could make a great case for so many of these additions we've talked about. But how about DB, DeWanna Bonner, who I love how Caitlin has already started to call her Mama Bear. And so we saw the great end to last season with the core that's back here. But I think it just really is so valuable that they've added this championship experience, these veterans who are going to help to really accelerate some of the learning curve for still some of the players who are newer to the league. So I think the pedigree that DB brings in, not to mention the fact that she's worked with this coaching staff in the past in Connecticut, I think they're going to really flow from there.
Right. And just to piggyback, because that was my person too, but just to take a different approach, Natasha, who's come from a winning background, right? Like, I don't think we stress about how important it is to have that winning background. When you know how to win and you have that aura about you, you can pass that along. You've come from experience with that. And being a player who came from especially in high school days, we were very, very successful. We didn't take losing very well. So what did we do? We took that, taught the younger kids, and then let it trickle effect. So Natasha has this way of, hey, I know what to do. I just know because I've been there. I have the experience. This is what we need in order to win. This is what practice needs to look like. This is what film needs to look like. This is what the game needs to look like. And she's able to have that kind of swag about herself. So when you get in those situations, all you can do is feed off of it.
Great selections. A couple players that have won championships and been all-stars. So they were easy picks for you, too. They were easy picks for you, too. And extremely deserving, by the way. I actually was just blown away as I was doing some research on DeWanna when the Fever acquired her in the first place. Nobody's played more playoff games in the history of the league than DeWanna Bonner. So you want to talk about experience?
Oof.
Howard's won 3 championships, a couple good picks. Feel free to repeat if you want. That's not me making the rules up, but I'm gonna add somebody that hasn't been chosen here because look, those 2 players allow, if Stephanie White wants, to run out a starting 5 that everyone's an all-star. That's insane. But we can't overlook the depth that was added to this team. Because if you remember, the Fever, when they went into the playoffs last year, they were riding high. They were playing so well. I think Sydney Colson's already said this in like 3 different interviews I've done. Nobody wanted to play the Fever when they got into the playoffs. But at the end of the day, there wasn't a ton of experience, which you two just touched on, but there wasn't a ton of depth either. And the Fever struggled when they had to get into that second rotation. And so a player like Sophie Cunningham, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what the rotations are going to be or who's going to start and all of that, but Cunningham, I think, adds so much needed depth. She adds a lot of that fiery passion that you were talking about as well. But depth, I mean, she is a 3-and-D player. She's a knockdown 3-point shooter. She's going to bring that energy. She's going to bring depth. And when the starting unit has to make some rotations out, having somebody like her, or now the rotation and the depth that potentially is in the mix now, if Alexi Hull is coming off the bench, I mean, that's a weapon to have coming off the bench. So I thought that was Indiana's biggest weakness last year, and it was just a byproduct of roster construction, right? It wasn't more than a couple years ago that this team was 12th in the WNBA, so you aren't immediately then going to have a ton of depth. But I thought the depth that came with the offseason was really, really meaningful.
And something that Kelsie Mitchell said during practice this week is that the additions that they added, they're veteran players who know their role and do really well in their role. And we mentioned Sydney Colson, a 2-time champion coming off the bench for the Aces. She knows her role. She also knows how to win and brings the experience. Sophie Cunningham can bring that spark. Lexi Hull can come off the bench and hit those shots. So depth off the bench was a huge addition. You mentioned DeWanna. You mentioned her playoff experience. The Fever faced her in the playoffs last year, and she played so well during those games. I think she caught the eye of a ton of Fever fans. So all of what you said, it's going to be huge for this team this season.
Yes.
All right, your turn, Bria. Choose wisely.
Penmanship. I'm just blown away. Okay. How do you think having vets like DB and Natasha changes the equation for Kelsie Mitchell this year? I'm so glad that I got this question for the simple fact that, like, I can't give Kelsie Mitchell enough credit, right? Like, back when I was in the training camp in 2019, if you look at the roster now, she's the only one that's still on there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? She has literally saw the worst of the Fever and now is able to experience the best of the Fever. So getting her back was so big, and I was so excited that we were able to get her back. So going back, so the equation for her, I think having Kelsie Mitchell or having DB and Natasha help Kelsie, not only from the winning factor, I guess I'll go with something else, but Kelsie is a competitor. Yeah. And every single year she gets better. every single year. She is not when you think she's hit the limit, somehow, some way, she finds a way to be better than last year. And that might be more efficient. So she's taking less shots or a better passer and she's getting more assists. So having DB and Natasha in that realm, you're just bringing now that winning mentality, that winning experience, what to do, how she can continue to get better. And her also being one of the oldies, love you, Kels, but one of the oldies in the locker room, she still has that I can learn from Mama DB, right? And I know I've already had that experience with Natasha and had some kind of formality from her, so she can still feed off. I know they are speaking life into her, so it's gonna be great. What about you, Kels? What do you think?
I hope it's like a little bit of a weight lifted off her shoulders a little bit. She was the main veteran last year when you looked. I mean, it was her and all the rookies and some younger players that lacked experience. So everything was kind of on her. So I hope adding these pieces, it's almost like a sense of relief, I guess, just adding these pieces. And honestly, Kelsie had a lot of experience, but she didn't have a lot of playoff experience here. So adding these individuals who bring that, I hope it's just comforting and gives her the confidence moving forward. But like you said, Kelsie just wants to win. Like, she is a competitor who just wants to win, and she's going to do it and try it with anyone by her side.
Go ahead, John.
Right. I think she's still one of the leaders of this team, but just less on her plate. I thought it was funny talking with her earlier in the week. She mentioned she brought some of her new teammates out to a Pacers playoff game, and as they were walking through Gainbridge Fieldhouse, she was saying hello to like everyone in the building, and her new teammates like, "How do you know everybody?" She's like, "It's year 8. I've been here." She knows people, but at the same time now, she doesn't have to be that only voice to help pave the way for some of her teammates, as that's going to be a shared thing. And we've heard Stephanie say the best teams are player-led teams. Now you have multiple options, not only to lead the team in scoring, but depending on the circumstances, to be that voice to guide them.
And she doesn't just know everybody because this is her 8th year. She knows everybody because that's just who she is. She's such a down-to-earth person. You would never know she's one of the best basketball players in the world when you just interact with her. And that's one of the things I love about her. And you talked about being in Fever training camp in 2019, so you know this. When the Fever drafted Kelsie Mitchell in 2018, and she'll be the first to tell you this, the leadership aspect was not something that she had. I mean, confidence is something that she worked through a lot early in her career. And it's amazing to look at her now, the confident player she is, the leader she is, to just how much growth we've seen from her over the years. And frankly, she was put in a tough spot because for years, the Fever were young and building and didn't have a lot of vets. And so Kelsie got asked to do some leadership things that were tough for a player who's 25, 26, 27, and to have her back, I'm gonna push back a little bit on your oldies comment. She's not even 30. She's in her prime. Yeah, she's not even. She's right in the heart of her prime. So I think like now the roster breakdown is great because you have a couple of players that have been there and done all of that. And then where Mitchell is, I think is perfect. She can be one of the main voices, but doesn't have to be the vet for everybody because she's right in the heart of her prime. This is year 8, and I think she can go for 16.
Oh,
right?
oh, absolutely. I'm betting on 20. Okay, and right here in Indy. But what's the average years that somebody plays in the WNBA?
Well, if you looked at just if you took the whole league, it's probably just a couple of years.
I was about to say, I think it's 2, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
So, and again, I had no doubts that she would be have a long, successful career here in the W, but it's very hard. And we don't have a lot of teams. There's only, now we added that extra team this year, so we have 13 teams as opposed to the 12, but it's extremely difficult to stay in the league. So I think that's another attest to what Kelsie has been able to do and accomplish. Girls are ready to fight, and scrap and scrape after every single possession. And she's one of those main ones that's like, I'm here to stay. Love that for you. So
100%. Let's talk about a few more players. Okay. Get to our next question. How excited are you all for year 2 of the Caitlin Aaliyah duo? I mean, I think everyone's excited. I think the whole country is excited to see these two back on the international, the world, to see these two play. Back-to-back rookies of the year. I mean, everyone was so excited to see how these two would play on the court. And kind of talking with Aaliyah during media day and practice this week, she kind of talked back about the start of her season last year, start of year 2, and it was honestly a struggle for her, and she admitted to that, and she said it was a learning curve to learn how to play with Caitlin and learn her style and learn her passing abilities, because when you're out there, she's gonna push the ball. She's going to move the tempo. You got to keep your head in a swivel. You got to be ready for those passes. And if you're not used to it, that was definitely a learning curve for her. So obviously they've had 1 year underneath their belt. I am so excited to see what Caitlin comes out with and what kind of passes we're going to see between these two. I mean, it's going to be really special.
I think if you looked at when this team started to click last year, there were two big reasons. One of them was they got through the ridiculous early season schedule. First of all, they just got through that bonkers beginning. And fortunately, the schedule this year is nowhere near like that to begin the season. But the other thing was this duo clicked. And those two, it's crazy because it's almost like one game, a light switch just flipped. And they were very good. Aaliyah right out of the gates was a very good pro. And Caitlin right out of the gates was a very good pro instantly in this league. But it took them a minute to figure each other out. Caitlin talked about that at Media Day on Wednesday. We didn't have each other's games on lockdown right away. But the moment it started to work, all of a sudden, it started paying huge dividends. I mean, Aaliyah was doing things for Caitlin. Caitlin was doing things for Aaliyah. And both of their games almost just exploded overnight. And I think what you were talking about is what makes this so exciting the beginning of the season is they don't have to do that again this year. They can hit the ground running. Game number 1, they're going to have that chemistry. And I think that's what makes this Fever team so dangerous. If you looked at Indiana from game 15 on last year, they were probably the 3rd or 4th best team in the league. And the hope would be here, Bria, that they can hit the ground running with that level of execution.
Right. And I was going to add just the fact that every game I felt like they got a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable, and then that light switch, right? We're not going back. We're not going back. And they've been practicing. They've gotten familiar with each other. They know each other's game, and all it took was a little time. So it's actually dangerous. I think it's just dangerous. We said we want the world to know who they are and how they're playing together. Well, we're about to find out. And that's really like, now you know mentality. So I'm super excited about that. But credit to both of them. I think they've worked really, really hard in the offseason and just kind of getting to know your player, especially coming right after college, right? Like Caitlin came, hit the ground running, she was able to figure out her footing here, like in Indiana with new teammates. It was going to take some time. We were able to give her that grace period. Now that they've had the time under their belt, it's going to be dangerous. I'm really excited to watch it.
Yeah, facts. I mean, they're ultra competitors. So like you said, they've worked hard because they're trying to take things to another level. They're also going to be pushed by a phenomenal coaching staff. And I think it was Stephanie in her press conference when she got back here to Indy talking about making a comparison to the men's game that, this is a duo that has the potential to be like a Stockton and a Malone. So not only all-star caliber, but Hall of Fame caliber. And I think it's going to be fun to see them continue to take those steps.
You talk about setting the bar high. Stephanie White did that right away, right? I mean, she said, I think she had Stockton and Malone, like one of the first sentences that came out of her mouth when she was hired. So that gives you an idea of what she expects. And I think also a dynamic at play here is just what Stephanie and her coaching staff can add to the mix for those two as well. I think something to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be something that we're going to see unfold here early on in the preseason and then pretty soon when the games count.
All right, is it your? I think it's John's.
I'll jump in again. And so, fittingly off of that, what are we most excited to see in this first preseason game against the Mystics for the new look Fever roster? And I feel like we've touched on basically all the new parts and stuff, as this will be our first radio broadcast. I am most excited just for the electric atmosphere that is going to be Gainbridge Fieldhouse, even for a preseason game. I know the building's going to be packed out and just cannot wait to experience from our position what this crowd is like and how the players, because one thing we heard throughout training camp from or media day from these newcomers is like they want to experience it for real. They saw it in some cases maybe as visiting players last year, or even when they were at home and Fever fans flooded their arenas. So that is really what I am most juiced for.
Yeah, no, just to piggyback off of that, I mean, I saw how electric this place can get. And so just taking the time to talk about like our fans, right? Like, I remember in 2012 when we won and how crazy it was, and then just kind of went away a little bit, even though people were watching maybe at home and things, but seeing and feeling the energy of the crowd and just that family atmosphere and the competitiveness of, because again, Indiana means business. We are very much like, we love our basketball.
It's basketball country.
It's basketball literally, and everywhere else, it's just basketball. Here, it's literally a lifestyle. So coming in and seeing like people, the anticipation right? Ever since we lost last year to just up into this moment, people are ready. And again, coming back on the radio broadcast and bringing that back, I think it's going to be huge. But we also get to see and witness some really good basketball every day. So I'm really excited about that.
Let's go. It'll be interesting to see how Stephanie White, the coaching staff, delve out minutes early on, because there will be that back-to-back in Iowa City coming up right after that. And maybe we're teasing a topic coming up here soon in our conversation as well. So it seems possible to me that in the first game, maybe you don't see major minutes from the major players. But even then, I just can't wait to see. I hope we get the opportunity on Saturday, if not on Sunday. DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, Caitlin Clark, Kelsie Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston on the floor at the same time. It's preseason. The energy level might not quite be what you're going to get at the regular season, but I just want to see those 5 on the floor together, because then it's real.
Yeah, and fittingly in a season in which the All-Star game is coming here, kind of just setting the tone with nothing but All-Stars on the floor.
Yeah, and kind of building off that, I'm interested to see how Stephanie approaches this in the rotations. You know, we might not get there in the preseason game, but she said she has 8 players who could easily start on a WNBA team. How is she going to mix them together? Are we going to see those 5 All-Stars starting on the floor? I want to see them playing together. I want to see them. It should be good.
Yeah. You know how important that is? I mean, we talked about the depth a little bit earlier, but I've been on teams that have been very, very successful because we had starters on the bench. That is huge. That is such a energy. If I'm out there and I'm a starter, I know I can give my 100%, because the next person that's going to come in, they're going to be ready to go. You know what I mean? And so I don't have to preserve energy. I don't have to maybe try to not be as aggressive. I can give my 100%, get out, take a break, get a breather, knowing good and well my teammates coming back in and gonna do work too. So very excited about that. God, this penmanship, right? I literally can't get over it. How special is it for the Fever to play at Carver Hawkeye Arena this preseason? Let me tell you, I played at Ben Davis a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
And I got so excited. It's an unreal feeling and such a privilege, right, to go back in a different uniform or different setting, maybe even the stakes might not be as high. But especially the things that Caitlin did at Iowa that we might not ever see again in another Iowa jersey or another jersey period, right? And now you get to go back on that floor and interact with those same fans that was rocking with you from day one, and being able to kind of get back in that feeling, in that mode, and have that nostalgic, I did that. I'm not Caitlin, but I did that. You know what I mean? You have that in a way that you can't really have the words to explain what that might mean. And there might be emotions, that come with that. There might be, just that sense of, that's also her home state. You know what I mean? So being able to go back and play in front of those fans, I think is so important. It's going to be a solid crowd, a lot of energy. People are going to be pulling. I think it's going to be nationally viewed and things like that. It is going to be something that's going to be a core memory for her. I'm going to speak that into existence right now. Caitlin, get ready for another core memory, okay? And I'm so excited to watch it and be a part of that, just because she deserves it, right? She deserves to have all that love in that building. And so the fact that Fever has extended that to her, it's going to stick with her as well.
There's no doubting that Caitlin has transformed this franchise, that the Iowa fan base and the Caitlin Clark fan base has transformed this franchise in ways that are indescribable. And I think about the last year, and you know this so well, going to every single home game, and you look into the upper corners of the arena. That's always where I start, because that's how you can tell how good the crowd's going to be. You look into the upper corners. And if the upper corners, people are filtering in, you're in for a good game. And I think it took me till 3 or 4 times of doing that where I kind of realized, you got to stop looking in the upper corners. They're going to be filled.
They're there.
Yeah. And what I'm getting at is we experience just so much love from Iowa coming this way. It's like the winds moving west to east. And you'd walk around, and the amount of Fever fans that came from Iowa, you walk around downtown Indianapolis on a game day, and it feels like a playoff game every single game. You see 22 jerseys at the level of the greatest stars in the history of this city and in this state in the sports scene. And so much of that is because of just this undeniable passion that we have gotten from Iowa coming east. So I am so excited, of course, for Caitlin, but I am so excited for everybody in Iowa and everybody in that direction to get to experience East coming west because they deserve it too. It's just one game, and there's the amount of people that would love to watch this in person and the amount of seats that Carver Hawkeye seats are a very different number. But just to get to give that love back for a day in a game, it's so, so cool.
And kind of building off that, one of the coolest things is when we were traveling with the team and going into the game on the team bus, and you just look out the window and there's a little girl with a Caitlin Clark poster and a Caitlin Clark Iowa jersey. I mean, it happened almost every single place you went. And it's almost emotional to think about that. Like the amount of young girls and boys who she impacted in her career and are now transforming into WNBA fans, into Fever fans. I mean, it's just so special. And to be able to play on your college court again, I mean, who gets to do that, first of all? To do it underneath your jersey, too, that's up in the rafters. I mean, it is just going to be, like you said, it's going to be a big memory for her.
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about. It's not a moment, it's a movement, and this is going to be bigger than just a basketball game. And so a 15,000-seat arena sold out in, 15 minutes. It's going to be just an unbelievable atmosphere. And I think anytime you can talk to this, a team has a first road trip of the season, that's a great bonding experience. And I think this will be a chance for everyone to realize that they are part of something that's bigger than just themselves.
Right, that's so true. And just to say that too, I don't know if you guys remember, but Beyonce came out with an album and her fans, her super fans, are called the Beehive. Well, she put a little beehive in the corner of her album cover and they were so excited. Oh, we made the cover. Oh, this is great. We made it. That was that love that Beyonce was able to extend back to them. So just in Caitlin's eyes, it's kind of like, this is such a gift to those Iowa fans as far as we're here. And now you get to see me again in person, and here I am, and signing autographs, and just kind of being around. So I'm here for it.
And so Beyonce is going to be on tour here this summer. It feels like this is the start of the Fever tour now.
Right, exactly.
I really didn't think we were getting Beyonce.
Yeah, right.
So I'm glad that you were able to check that box for us. It was really one of the few things we haven't talked about here.
Beyonce, if you're watching this now.
We got to get her to it again.
I think this is our last card here, and then we will hit pause on this conversation. But I will look forward to speaking with all of you. Hopefully, I think as many people know, Debbie lives in a very different part of the country. She flies in every single game. That's how passionate she is about this. But we weren't able to have her here for this conversation. But hopefully, we'll have her for some future ones, and she's going to play big into this next question and the answer to it, which is, we know this is a special team, but what's going to make the broadcast team fun this season too? And this is the 11th season that I've had the good fortune of broadcasting, at least in some regard, for the Fever. And you know this back to 2020, going back to the Wubble season. I mean, it was just kind of you and me, and we were in a studio.
Freezing studio at that.
Freezing studio. Very cool
so
studio. Cool studio. And it's just been so gratifying to me to watch our group grow. We brought you on last year. We're bringing you on this year. We now have Debbie and Bria. And I want to give a quick plug and shout out to our management, because last year is the first year that we started traveling. And to best tell the stories of this team, you have to travel. You have to be there with the team. When the team goes on a West Coast swing for 8 days, they don't leave us anymore. We get to go with them. And that's so powerful and impactful. And I can go down the line here. I mean, you and I have picked Debbie's brain so much, and will continue to do so. And you even as a young broadcaster, I think you ask questions that are as good as anybody that I've heard your age. And I do Pacers, and so sometimes you'll ask a question, I'll be like, that's a good way that and Bria, we've worked together for a few years now, and I think Debbie is the ultimate resource. But where you come in, and I think you're so valuable, is you were playing professional basketball last year. You've worn an Indiana Fever jersey before. So you're kind of the voice of maybe the young player and the modern player, and to get to have you back. And John, you've been in our organization for a long time now, and I'm just thrilled to have, you do plenty of play-by-play too in other realms, but I'm so glad to have another play-by-play broadcaster along for the ride, and to have all of you on the road. It's going to be, the basketball team is a team, but the broadcast team truly is a team too. And I think we all have the ability to learn and gain from working with each other. And I can't wait, Debbie, if you're watching and listening, I can't wait to get this thing started.
Yeah, I mean, last year was just an incredible learning experience. Obviously, you have been here. You were a mainstay for both Pacers and Fever to learn from you.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm in like
The
Kelsie. I'm back to Kelsie.
you're the oldie.
Kelsie, I feel you. I did not.
But just to learn from you, I mean, Debbie's a Hall of Famer. I mean, come on. I learned so much from her just from a game aspect, and her personality is incredible too. I've worked with John for 3 years with the Mad Ants. We have a relationship. Bria and I love women's sports. We call women's basketball together, college basketball. I mean, our relationships with amongst each other are so solid and will continue to grow, and that will only help us bring this coverage. There are so many stories that we are so excited to tell about this season, and being able to do it in front of an audience that wants to listen to, it makes it really, really special.
Yeah. And gosh, John and I were just talking about this, about how like you guys were voted #1 broadcasting team
In the W, yeah.
in
Shout out
the
to that.
W. And so we were like, we want to be there too. So it was just bringing back the radio show off rip. I was like, do people still listen to the radio? Like, is this what kind of experience? But come to find out, they actually do. 1. 2, being able to travel with the team. And John, I don't know about you, but I'm so excited. Just kind of listening to just the format and how the team travels. 1, it brings me back to Kentucky days and just the format of just what charter looks like and these nice hotels, and then getting to know the team. And it is a way that I can continue to grow. And I'm looking at it as just one of the best learning opportunities, because come to find out, I am a little shy. Believe it or not, I am shy, okay?
And like when Eddie White came up to me and told me he was shy, I'm like, what are you talking about?
I am. I'm outgoing, but sometimes that kind of takes a little bit like, all right, go talk to that person or go ask some questions. So I do it. It doesn't always feel comfortable. Now I'm in a position where asking questions to athletes that play the exact same game as I did, I already probably know the answer, but doing it anyway and building relationships and seeing where I can kind of fit in, and also getting, my broadcasting career up and running and things like that. So this is an opportunity that comes in once in a lifetime. I'm so excited to be here and just grow and learn, and who not better to learn from Debbie Antonelli, right? Like, big fan. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I know she's probably gonna watch, so I'm gonna just say big fan. But just to learn, and I'm a sponge. So she's been there. She's probably one of the hardest working, analysts out there. And I literally get to learn firsthand. So not a lot of people get that opportunity. I'm super excited.
Yeah, and just feeling blessed and grateful here for the chance to join you all, and again, to be able to interact with this just second to none fan base in all of sports at this point. And so I think looking forward to connecting with fans. So whether we see you around the city or on the concourse in the arena or interacting online, just having the chance to grow this community, there's no limits to what's possible here. The team is aspiring for a championship. We're shooting to have the best broadcast possible. And, off of one thing you said there, Pat, credit to the leadership of the organization. Not every W team has a radio broadcast. So really thankful that we get to add that here to the fans' experience this season.
Well, our hope, and with our producer Daniel, is to have many of these conversations throughout the year. So this is hopefully the first of just many. Hopefully the only one where Debbie isn't with us, but we'll look forward to her being along for the conversation, along for the ride. And as I think you talked about, like the appetite for Indiana Fever basketball content, it's insatiable from our fan base. And so we are so thrilled to have the opportunity to talk Fever basketball, to be with you throughout the whole season, whether it's on TV, whether it's on radio. We got you covered everywhere. So John, Bria, Kelsie, great first conversation. Yep. It's great to see you all back, and looking forward to a thrilling ride here in 2025.
Definitely.